is nothing in this entire dish that has any milk base or any meat base, so that you could use this for either one. And in one of the laws of kashrut, also, if some of your guests had had a lunch where they may have had meat, then they cannot eat milk for 5 hours. So we want to be sure that one of our appetizers that we're going to serve will be parve, so that no matter what our guests had had earlier in the day, when they come to the Brit Milah, I hope they're going to be able to eat everything that we are going to serve. And I hope that they are going to enjoy it, and I hope that you will make these at home. Now, to make our eggs caviar, we're going to use as many eggs. Well, I'll tell you how I figure it. I usually figure about how many people. If you're going to have 8 people, then use 8 hard-cooked eggs. If there are 10 people, use 10 hard-cooked eggs. I have 12 today. And I think that that is just about right, about 12 eggs, because we're going to have other things, but I'm sure that we're going to have more than 12 people at this special party. And if you're going to make it for an appetizer, you can do the same thing. Now, in our food processor, I have put about a half of a medium-sized onion. Not too much, but just a little bit to give it a special kind of a flavoring. And I'll just put that through for a moment to give it a nice, just put your onion through for a second. It goes so fast and quickly, and oh my goodness, but you know me and onions, it always makes me cry. Well, no, that looks fine. Now we'll take our 12 hard-cooked eggs that have already been peeled, and you can make your eggs the night before if you like, and just have them in the refrigerator and have them ready to go. We'll put our eggs right into the food processor and then turn them on and mash them in very carefully. See how easily they go, but you should always check it, because sometimes one of the eggs might not turn around, and you kind of have to move it around a little bit to be sure that you're going to get all of your eggs worked into it very quickly. And this works out the best. Here we have 12 hard-cooked eggs. Now to this, I'm going to add a little bit of salt. And I find the nutritionists today say that instead of using regular salt, use sea salt. It's very easily accessible today. I see it in the supermarkets where I didn't used to see it a long time ago. This is about a teaspoon, because eggs are one thing that really needs salt. I try to cut down on most foods, but I think it's pretty hard with eggs. You almost have to put a little bit into that. And then, in order to bind it, to make it hold together, I'm going to put in a half a cup of mayonnaise. That will hold it together, and you'll see how easily it will just pull it all together. Here we have the 12 eggs and the salt and the mayonnaise. Now take a mold, whatever kind or shape that you would like to use, and I'm using a round one today, and just put it very carefully into your mold. I have this greased a little bit because it'll make it easier to come out. When you grease it, use some kind of an oil or something that does not have salt in it, because sometimes that can give a little bit of an aftertaste or a flavor to it. So try to use an oil or a butter or whatever you're going to use that does not have any salt in it. And you'll see how easily this goes in. You know, one of the wonderful things about working with something like this, if you're hesitant and you're afraid it's not going to unmold carefully, you don't have to worry about a thing. Because as I always say to my daughter-in-law, Aline, don't worry about it. It's like paste. All you have to do is take it together and just paste it together. Now, you should make this the day before and put it in the refrigerator overnight. And the next day, when you're ready to serve it, then you take it out, and you'll see how nicely it's going to look. But it doesn't mold very nicely. It just pulls right out. And in order to serve it, we're going to dress it up a little bit. So you take your egg salad, and in the middle here, I made this out of the inside of a grapefruit. When you peel your grapefruit, first peel the outer skin off and then the inner skin. And it's the inner skin that will take this color. Put it in a little food coloring and let it set overnight. Now over this, just before you're going to serve it, and it doesn't take that long, so it's easy to do, just take a little Russian dressing and pour it over the whole egg salad mold. You see, this is 12 eggs. If it were less, it would be just fine too. But you can make it with any number that you like. And just pour this all across the top. And then on top of that, just put a little bit of the caviar. Oh, that gives it such a wonderful flavor. You'll see that your guests will really go bananas. So take your caviar, put it across the whole top, and you'll see this is all ready to serve, and everybody will just love it because this is a delicious, delicious appetizer. And I hope that you'll try it, and all of the ones that we're going to try today, because they really are very special. You'll see the appetizers we're making are very easy, and I hope that you will enjoy making them. Now, how did I make that? It's very simple, and I'll tell you my secret. I've been fooling around with this for a while, and I think that the best thing to use is this Edam cheese. Take an Edam cheese and peel it. Take the red off and peel it. Then take any type of a biscuit dough that you want to use, spread it out, and just cover your cheese. Cover it all up on all sides so that the seam is on the bottom. Now look at how interesting this is going to be. When you first put it in, my son says, "Mom, are we going to eat that?" I said, "Wait a minute, Skip. Wait till we put it in, and then you're going to see something, because it really is delicious." And in fact, you find that your guests will kind of take a little look at it and say, "Well, I don't know, maybe I'll just try a little piece." So what I suggest is you make one. It takes about 30 minutes on a 350 oven. So make one, and then after that's started, about 20 minutes, then put another one in. Because I'm sure that after your guests take a little smidgen, they're going to come back and they're going to take more. And we'll put another one in too and see how this will work out. Let's put another one in on about a 350 and allow it to set in the oven for about 20 minutes and see how it'll come out. Just be sure that you have it completely covered and that the seam is on the bottom. Now when you're going to serve it, there are some very nice, interesting little gadgets to use. Have you ever seen this? You know, sometimes when you serve cheese, you really don't want to take your hand and put it right on the cheese. So if you just use this little gimmick and put it on your cheese, you'll see how very nicely this cuts. And there you have a piece of baked cheese. And it really is delicious. I hope that you'll all try this. Just give it a try. You may think, "Oh, that sounds horrible," but look at how easy it is. And if you want to use another kind of cheese, you can. If you use a large cream cheese, then I think instead of the dough, just cover it with nuts. Cover it with some kind of nuts, and that will work out just fine. And this is our baked cheese. I'm going to leave it on the side because I think it really is a wonderful thing to make, and I think that you will enjoy it. Now we're going to make another dip. This is a special herring dip, and it's special because I saw it at somebody's house who I think is really a very, very unusual person, and her name was Mrs. Gerber. Mrs. Gerber was very active in the Federation and encouraged so many of us to become involved and to understand what giving is, that this is a part of the tradition of Judaism, to understand what our responsibility is to others. And whenever you would walk into her home, she was standing there with her good feelings about giving and being a part of the community, and she passed that on to her daughter, Harriet Lewis. And now, Harriet, they are the ones, in fact, who donated this wonderful kitchen so that we can have this marvelous program here. And now Harriet's daughters are doing the same thing. So this is the special Gerber herring salad. And if you ever go over to their home or go and visit any of them, I'm sure that Isla and any of them will be making this wonderful salad. Now, it used to be that if you wanted to make something with herring, you had to take the fresh herring and leave it overnight and work with it. But today, it's very simple. All we have to do is take the jars that are already all set, the herring fillets. And in this one, I used a 12-ounce jar of herring fillets, and take a scissors and cut it up into small pieces. I find that if you put that into the food processor, it really becomes a little too fine. It isn't as good. Take a scissors and just cut it up very fine, and it'll be just enough. I see that really there's a little too much liquid. Sometimes some of the liquid in the herring holds on, and you must really get rid of that. Be sure that it's drained, and if there are onions in the herring, be sure that you take that out, because you just want the herring. That's all that you want in here, because we're going to be adding our own flavorings. And it's really quite an unusual recipe. Now, to the 12-ounce jar of herring, I'm going to add a bunch of green onions. And this is an interesting thing. Grow them in your garden. They're so easy to grow. Just go into the store and in spring or wherever you see them, take the little onions and put them in the ground, and you'll see within a couple of weeks you'll have wonderful, wonderful green onions. And here they are. Look at what a nice color they give and a wonderful flavor. And then I used a green pepper. And you know, again, I don't like to chop anything up too finely. I think it's nice to have the flavor and the feeling of what we're cooking. So here we are going to add the green pepper, and the liquid that we're going to put in here will be a cup of sour cream. And you can use either sour cream or sour half and half. Either one is fine, but not the sour cream that you would make at home. It should be the commercial kind. And to that, a half a cup of mayonnaise, because it's the mixture of the mayonnaise and the sour cream that gives substance to this kind of an appetizer and really makes it delicious. And now the secret ingredient that gives it that special, special flavor, and your guests will say, why does this taste different than anything I ever tasted before? Because we're going to add to it a tablespoon of celery seed. This is a wonderful spice to use, celery seed. It's completely different than anything else that you might use. And to that, I'm also going to add a tablespoon of lemon juice, because that will bring out the flavor of the herring. And it really needs a little sweetening, about a tablespoon of sugar. And blend all of that together and put it in a bowl. You see how nice and clean and white it is, but you still get the feeling of seeing the herring and the wonderful flavors in it. And here, we'll put it into this nice bowl, for a serving bowl to put right on our buffet table. You can even see all the little celery seeds, the way they come through in here. And if you want to decorate it a little bit, take a piece of your green onion and maybe a little piece of your green pepper to make a few little things on the side. And here's a flower. Go into the garden. What kind of flowers do you have in there? Pick up one of your flowers, and there you have a very lovely salad. And we could use crackers or a little cocktail rye or something. We'll leave this in the refrigerator to stay cold until we make the rest of our appetizers. And here it is. That's the kind of an appetizer that you can really make the night before. It's delicious, and it works out fine to make it the night before. There's really no problem with it. You know, there's something else that I've been thinking about when I was making these things today, and that is, I must share this with you because I'm so excited. I can't even help but say that I must tell you, because you are really all my friends, that something very exciting happened to us. We became grandparents. Our daughter, her son-in-law, had a beautiful little boy. Now in Jewish life, one of the first things that happens when you have a little boy is that you think about this basic covenant of Judaism that requires a little boy to have a circumcision. But it's not just any time or any place. As one of the 613 commandments of Jewish law, it's very, very exacting and very, very precise as to exactly how you do this type of a thing. You do not just do it in the hospital by anybody. In order to have the circumcision, and in Yiddish we call it a brit milah, or in the Ashkenazic pronunciation, a bris. And the law requires that this be done on the 8th day. Well, years ago when we had our children, we used to be in the hospital on the 8th day. But of course, they don't keep the girls in the hospital so long anymore. So very often, and most of the time, this very beautiful ceremony is done at home. And again, is the wonderful things in Jewish tradition that we celebrate these marvelous things together. And you always invite people over. In fact, in order to set up for the Brit Milah, we must have a minyan. A minyan has always, well, traditionally, it meant 10 men. Today, in the conservative and in the reformed movements, the women are also included. But whatever, it means that at least 10 people will congregate. And of course, in our family, that's very simple, because with all the daughters and the sons and the in-laws and all of the extended family, the mishpocha, they will all be there for this wonderful, wonderful ceremony. And this is part of the beauty. This is the moment that you really feel of the generation to generation, to tell the next generation what you feel and what your beliefs are, and to stand up and explain them and know about them. This is truly the beauty of Judaism, and I think that maybe we can teach more and understand more at this moment than we do from years of Sunday school, because this explains the true concept of Judaism. And we feel, of course, that after everybody is there, and this man who's called a moel or a mohel, M-O-H-E-L, he has been certified and signified to come and do this circumcision. He will come and do it, and he will say the proper prayers. And of course, afterwards, we're going to serve. I mean, it's a party. So wouldn't it be nice to have all of these lovely appetizers out? And that's exactly what we're going to do. So in addition to the egg salad that we made, and the baked cheese, and the herring salad, I must tell you about this wonderful spinach dip, because I think this spinach dip is absolutely sensational. Now here's what you do. You take a 10-ounce, a frozen package of spinach, a frozen 10-ounce package, and defrost it, and drain it. And we're going to put it in the food processor because I think it'll be easier to work with it that way. And then we're going to add to that, well, let's see, before we put that in, I think it might be better if we do our water chestnuts to be sure we get them chopped up a little bit. Otherwise, our spinach might get too chopped up a little. Let's add a whole carton. This is what, 6.5 ounces? 6.5 ounces, I think, for the water chestnuts. And just let them go for a minute so they get kind of chopped up. There, let's see how they look. Oh, they look fine. All right, so that's, we want them to be a little crunchy, because it's a crunchiness that we really want to give in the water chestnuts. And now here's something really special. I want you to try this. This is Knorr's vegetable soup mix, and it has a wonderful flavor, absolutely a sensational flavor. And we're going to add a little onion. You know me and my little onion always gives it that good feeling. And just blend that a little bit. After you get that together, don't overdo it. Be sure if you're using a food processor, you give it an on-off, on-off. You do not overdo it. And to that, again, we'll add our combination of a little mayonnaise and sour cream, because that's going to give it a very, very nice flavor. So here we have sour cream and mayonnaise, and adding that to it. We're going to blend that through, and you'll see this vegetable mix with the spinach gives it a very, very unusual flavor. Besides which, it's very nice looking. Now you might wonder what I'm going to put it in. And I'm going to show you because I think it's very unusual. We're going to go into the refrigerator and take out a wonderful sourdough bread. You can order these at your bakery. And this is a gorgeous presentation. Absolutely, your guests will come in and will be absolutely thrilled. And here's what you do. Cut out your sourdough bread. Make little marks. Take your toothpick and put your toothpick at one point in your bread so that you make marks all the way across. Point them. Move it all the way around and take your knife. You see, I've marked it with my toothpicks here, so I know where to put the knife in order to cut out the middle of this sourdough bread. Look at how interesting this is going to be. Now when you have it all the way around, then pull out the middle. And that's where we're going to put our dip. This is the unusual part of it. We're going to take our dip and we're going to pour it right in. Now look at how nice this is going to look. We're going to pour it right into the bread and serve it right in here. So take the rest of the bread that you had left and cut it up into little pieces and put it around so that your guests can use this bread in order. Here you have the bread. Take it and cut it into small pieces. Then you can use it to dip into this wonderful dip. Here, put the little pieces of bread around it. And I also have some fresh vegetables, the carrots and the green onion. Oh, I tried to make a little flour out of the end of the green onion. Sometimes if you use the green tops into your salad, you don't like to use the bottoms because they might be too sharp. So take the ends of it and put this in cold water for a couple of hours, and you'll see that the ends will come out like a little flower, and they really look pretty. Be sure that you buy the green onion that's a little bit thicker, because you see how pretty this looks? Now it comes out as a flower. And if it were to stay here in a little cold water a little longer, it would even blossom out a little bit nicer. And here's cauliflower and parsley, and we'll cut up our sourdough bread. And then what happens later on, and you'll see this is going to happen with your guests, after they start to eat into the dip and they start to get down into it, then just start cutting the bread all the way through. And I will wager you that you're not going to have too much left after you start to do that, because it will really give it a wonderful, wonderful feeling. I wonder how our other cheese is coming along. Let's just take a look into the oven and see how the other cheese is coming along. Oh, it looks beautiful. I think it will be ready in about a minute. Let's just leave it there for 1 minute more, and we'll see how beautiful that's going to look. But cut up the rest of your sourdough bread and put it out, because that's really what you want your guests to have. You want to put out a lovely appetizer table, and that's what really makes this whole thing so impressive. While you have to go in the kitchen and get the rest of your dinner together, and your guests are having a little drink perhaps or something, then this is what you'll be doing. And let's say if we're going to use this for a brit milah, there are two things that we must have with it, because in addition to having the minion and the moil, you must have on the table a bottle of wine, of kosher wine, and you must have a challah. Because whatever we do, we are so grateful to God that we always prepare to say the prayers of thankfulness before we start to eat and before we start this beautiful ceremony. So if it's going to be a dinner party and you're going to break bread together, or if you're going to use it for a brit, then you will have all of these together. And we're going to take everything out of the refrigerator and see how this very beautiful appetizer table is going to look. And here is our egg salad with the caviar on it. And I think that makes a beautiful presentation. And here is our very pretty appetizer with the herring salad. And let's see what's happening over here with our, oh my, this is really going to look nice. Look at how this one came out now. Here is our other cheese one. It needs maybe just another little minute, but it's all right, because if you take it out a little bit in advance and let it sit, I think that that's even more important. You can tell as you allow it to sit on the table how nice and big, and the important thing is that you bound it together all the way. That's what will keep the cheese inside. And if you allow it to sit for a couple of minutes, then it will cut very nicely, and everybody will have a really delicious piece of cheese. So I hope you have enjoyed the appetizers that we made today, and I hope that you'll try them. They're really very easy. You'll find them on the back page of the Sunday Forward, and you can also write for them to WJUF in Chicago. Shalom.
Unter ihnen ist Wiegele, steht a klare weiß Ziegele. Das Ziegele ist gefahren Handel. Das wird sein dein Beruf. Rasch in Kös mit